Good day, everyone across North America. This is John Garmendi with Sony's Professional Solutions of America, welcoming you to another in our series of Tech Tuesday AV Solutions webinars. These webinars were started in response to the COVID crisis so that our customers, resellers, integrators, and consultants can stay informed and up to date on Sony's latest products and solutions. Today's webinar is the third in a series of 3 new product introductions during the month of July. This week, we're excited to announce the new flagship model of our 4K Pro SXRD lineup. Other projectors in this lineup include the VPL-GTZ380, VPL-GTZ380, and the VPL-GTZ340, which won a Projector Central Best of Show Award during InfoComm 2019. Before we begin, just a few items of housekeeping. As in previous webinars, there'll be an opportunity for Q&A at the end, so please submit your questions via the GoToMeeting question panel. I will also post links to information referred to throughout the webinar in the chat panel, and I will post a link to our YouTube playlist where you can view all of our archived past Tech Tuesday webinars. One last item. During today's webinar, we'll show a couple of brief videos. If you're joining the webinar audio by phone, you won't be able to hear the accompanying audio. Audio will only be available via computer. Joining me today as our main presenter is Sander Phipps, Senior Product Manager for our Pro 4K SXRD projectors. Sander has held a number of positions within Sony's professional organization throughout his 30-year career. Sander also holds a VIX's CTS certification. I'm glad to have Sander join us today, and I'll turn it over to Sander, and I'll meet you back for the Q&A session at the end.
Thank you, John. And first and foremost, thank everyone for attending today's webinar. We're really excited to launch, as John mentioned, the flagship model of our Pro SXRD line. Sony has a long history of image quality. We have a very good reputation when it comes to image quality. We've made production evaluation grade monitors, we make Cine cameras, and we make a lot of the core technologies that make that image quality possible. I think that's probably one of the things that really sets us apart is a lot of the core technologies that we develop. I mentioned the SXRD technology. Sony has made SXRD projectors for nearly 20 years now. And because of this, we have continually improved and evolved the technology, making higher resolution, higher brightness, higher contrast, and longer life devices. As John mentioned, we are going to show a couple short videos here in a second. These videos will be hosted by the head of our product planning team in Japan, Mr. Mitch Kitagawa. Mitch would actually, some people on this call may have met him along the line. He was based in the US for several years as the marketing manager for our, what we call VSVE product line, or our 4K SXRD, Pro 4K SXRD product line. Mitch took a lot of notes, met a lot of people, listened to a lot of people, and took away from all of that a lot of the pain points, a lot of the requirements, a lot of the market needs for a high-end ultimate picture quality projection system. And he took all that back with him to Japan and took that to his team. And with that, he developed a very high-end projector. So with that, we're going to show these couple videos describing what this projector is all about.
こんにちは、商品企画の北川です。本日はこの新しい 4K レーザープロジェクターのご紹介をさせていただきます。とにかく映像を見たときにワオって思ってもらえるプロジェクターを作りたいというのがコンセプトでした。最近美術館や企業のショールームなどでも大きなディスプレイで迫力ある大画面を見る機会って増えていますよね。そうした用途に向けたプロジェクターなんです。近くでも見てもらいたいので 4K の高解像度は絶対に必要ということは分かっていたんですが、それ以外に人を感動させる画質には何が必要だろうかと考えた末に行き着いたのがコントラストと色なんです。 解像度、コントラスト、色が揃うとまさにその場にいるような臨場感、没入感を感じることができます。またさまざまな場所で使ってもらうためには1万ルーメン以上の高輝度は絶対必要と考えていました。よって 4K、1万ルーメン、高コントラスト、高色域の4つを同時に実現した最高画質でかつ設置しやすいサイズのプロジェクターを作ろうというのがこのプロジェクトの始まりでした。設計的には多くのチャレンジがあり、熱問題など解決しないといけない課題もたくさんありましたが、開発は順調に進んでいます。我々の思いの詰まった最高画質のプロジェクターをご覧いただけるのを楽しみにしています。ありがとうございます。
So as you can see, Mitch is very excited about his new projector, his new baby, if you will. So yes, the GTZ380 is the flagship of our new flagship of our product line. At 10,000 lumens and 100% of a DCI P3 color space, this is a very unique projector in the industry with an unparalleled image quality. I can't stress enough that the key takeaway of this projector is the image quality, and I will keep referring to that. John mentioned this in the entry. This is the addition or the top of the pyramid of our 4K SXRD lineup. We have a 2000 lumen projector, laser phosphor, native 4K resolution, a 4096 by 2160 pixel array, all the way up through the GTZ270 and the 280, which are the workhorses of our product line. The 270 being a sort of video-centric projector, if you will, and the 280 having a feature set primarily designed for simulation visualization, things like 120 hertz and the ability to stimulate night vision goggles. And again, laser phosphor and native 4K. And all the way up to the premium now of our lineup, the 380 at 10,000 lumens, and again, 100% of DCI color space. And using a lot of the latest generation core technology to make the image quality what it is. When it ships, the projector will ship or will have available two option lenses, a short throw lens and what we call a standard throw lens. One thing I want to point out here is the shift range on these lenses. One of the key design criteria for this new product was flexibility of installation, the ability to put the projector in places that typically are not ideal, but by design, by some creative engineering, it allows the projector to be placed in situations that actually will solve some problems and do things you typically could not do with a projector of this brightness and resolution in the past. As I mentioned, this is our flagship model. Sony has introduced a number of new projectors over the past few months and has a rather extensive front projection lineup. This projector is ideally designed and suited for applications in the corporate and entertainment world, simulation and high profile applications. What it really is well suited for are applications where either I have to engage the viewer, entertain the viewer, or accurately represent an image on the screen. Because of the resolution, because of the color imagery, because of all the technology in this projector, it will accurately produce an image. It will produce an image that will create a sense, an attraction, if you will. It creates an environment. And that's kind of things you want to do in entertainment and simulation, especially. So some of the technology that I talked about that's in this projector. First is what we call the X1 Ultimate Processor. What this actually is a software and hardware package that Sony has developed. It's a unique in-house technology, if you will, and it does several things for us. It originally was developed along with our Bravia television and our Bravia Pro TV line, and it gives us the ability, among other things, to take resolutions that aren't 4K and put them onto a 4K imager and not lose fidelity, not lose a crispness, not lose a sharpness, to make even a lower resolution signal look high resolution, if you will. It also takes advantage of our HDR capability to enhance detail at certain picture levels, especially low levels and very high brightness levels. It brings out details, it brings out subtle changes in the image. This gives you the ability to accurately portray an HDR signal, or accurately get, or maybe a better way to put it is get the most benefit, if you will, out of an HDR signal. So if you are doing something that has HDR content, you want the projector, or really any display device, to maximize the information that the HDR content gives you. The other thing is this is a real-time signal processing chip, which means there's very fast throughput through it. So we're doing all this on the fly without a delay, without a lag, and this makes for a very powerful image processing capability, very unique in the industry. The other core technology, and again, this is a Sony technology. Sony developed the SXRD chip. It's a type of LCOS, or liquid crystal and silicon chip. SXRD is unique. It gives us some advantages that, frankly, other imagers don't have. First and foremost, we are a 4K native imager. The pixel counts of these chips are 4096 by 2160, which means we are not doing any kind of manipulation of the image, E-shift, whatever you want to call it. So if you give the projector a signal that is 8.8 million pixels, or 4K, all 8.8 million pixels will be on the screen without compromise. SXRD also has a tremendous contrast ratio, 16,000 to 1 in this case, as compared to most projectors in our market are around 2,000 to 1. Contrast ratio is probably the most important and probably the least understood and most abused specification of a projector. But contrast ratio gives you depth. Contrast ratio gives that term pop. That's what gives you that feeling when you look at an image. And again, if you're doing anything in any HDR content, if the display device does not have good contrast, regardless whether it accepts HDR or not, it's really not going to do it justice. You need the native contrast to get the full benefit of HDR. It is a 3-chip design, so we have all 3 primary colors on the screen all the time. So no compromise in color fidelity, color accuracy, color saturation. And as I mentioned before, this is the latest generation of SXRD chips. We've been making these chips for pretty much 20 years now. This means these chips have gotten smaller, more efficient, and more reliable, and stand up to longer duty cycles, longer life. Some key feature changes or key features to this projector. This is our latest generation of the laser phosphor technology. Sony was the first to market with a laser phosphor projector, And this is the latest generation, and there are some additions and some improvements to it that I'll talk about in a minute. I did mention ease of installation and maintenance. I'll talk about a little bit of the design criteria, some of the engineering that went into this to make that possible. And I want to talk a little bit about some of just the overall image quality features that this projector has. So talking about the laser performance. Typical laser phosphor projectors, in a nutshell, take a group of blue lasers and hit an element or a hunk of phosphor, if you will, and produce light. Was a huge advantage over lamp-based technologies in innumerable ways: efficiencies, heat output, life, all that good stuff. Some of the issues that you run into, however, is laser phosphor with just one blue laser. There is some limit in the amount of blue energy and the red energy produced from the phosphor wheel. So you don't have you have an uneven amount of energy across the RGB spectrum. By adding a second blue laser and a second red laser and putting this energy directly into the optical path, we're expanding that energy in the blue and red spectrum. What that gives us the ability is to make a full color space representation without losing any brightness. So 10,000 lumens at a DCI P3 color space at 100% of that color space, which is very unique. And then you can talk about color space and all that. What that does in a more visceral sense is it gives you that jump, that pop, that image that draws you to the screen. Like I said, this projector is designed for applications where you want to engage the viewer, you want to immerse the viewer, you want to capture the viewer's attention, or you want to look at an image and make decisions on it, industrial design, and so forth. Because this has such accurate wide color imagery, it will engage the viewer. It will capture the viewer's attention. Another improvement is the laser control. With this projector, using a PWM or pulse width modulation system, I can control the laser energy output, effectively control the brightness, if you will, or the light output, all the way from 100% all the way down to 10%. So what that allows you to do, one, in applications where there's a lot of dark scene content, I can dim down the projector precisely to get the look, to reproduce the image as I so desire. It also allows you to precisely match multiple projectors. I can precisely control the light output from each projector. So if they're side by side, blended together, some sort of multiple projector environment, I have the handles, I have the tools to precisely match these, such that the viewer is just going to see one big image, not different images of slightly different brightnesses. And the human eye is very sensitive to that. So this ability to precisely control that laser power is very useful. Talked about installation. One of the cool things about this projector is for a 10,000 lumen projector, it is relatively small. Actually, it's at least 17% smaller than any other 10K lumen projector on the market that we're aware of. And in most cases, much smaller than that, which means the projector doesn't need to be in any special place. It can be hung in probably the same area that the viewer is. I don't need a big room for it. I don't need a lot of space for it. It also has a completely sealed optical system. There is no airflow into the light engine, which means there is no way dust or dirt or any other contaminant can get into the light engine, which also means two things. One, there are no filters on this projector whatsoever. So this literally is a zero maintenance projector. You can hang it up and you do not have to touch it. Secondly, since it's a sealed optic system, we employed a liquid cooling system to cool, if you will, the inside of the light engine because there's no air going into it. This liquid cooling system is very efficient and also means we do not have to run as much air through the projector, which means the projector is very quiet. So I have a small projector at 10,000 lumens, and I have a very quiet projector at 10,000 lumens. So if I'm in a museum, if I'm in a lecture hall, if I'm in a screening room or what have you, I don't have to create an enclosure. I don't have to put the projector in a special booth. It literally can be in the same environment as the viewer. So from an installation point of view, it makes life a lot simpler. And of course, since it's a laser phosphor technology and it is liquid cooled, there are zero concerns about mounting angles, mounting positions. You can literally put this projector in any angle and orientation you so desire. As well as image quality, and keep talking about that because that's what this projector is all about. There's some technologies in there that allow for exceptional smear reduction. So if I'm looking at any kind of high-speed motion simulation as a classic example of that, I can get rid of any kind of blur or bleed, if you will, and get a crisp, sharp image. I mentioned this projector has HDR connectivity. It will accept an HDR signal, read the metadata, and display the signal appropriately. It has very short transport delay. Transport delay is, or lag, or however you want to describe it, is basically how long does it take the projector to process the signal and put it up on the screen. For simulation, this is critical, and also for esports, especially after COVID-19, esports has taken off. A display device to be used in any kind of esport application, transport delay is critical. This goes back to the X1 processor a little bit. The X1 processor is so powerful, it can do all this manipulation in real time and doesn't add delay to the system. And again, the reality creation processing system, which is part of the X1 system, gives us the ability to upscale images and also filter out unwanted noise or extraneous noise out of the image. Other feature sets, primarily these are targeted towards the simulation market. There is an LED inside the unit, a IR LED that can be used to stimulate night vision goggles, night vision training applications. The projector will accept 120 hertz input, which means high-speed video, simulation, esports, other applications where there's a lot of movement. Also, 120 hertz video means I can do a 3D image at 60 hertz per eye. 3D used for visualization, product designs, virtual reality kind of applications. 60 hertz per eye makes 3D very viable for those applications, and this projector can accept 120 hertz signal. There is an optional constant brightness mode for an extended life. The idea behind this is the projector is preset at a certain brightness and tweaked precisely such that the projectors can be matched and will stay matched over an extended running time for tens of thousands of hours. So for an installation like a simulator or like multiple projector installations, the units can be set up, matched, put into and be in this mode, and they will stay matched so that there doesn't have to be a lot of tweaking and adjustment. 6 months later, a year later, they just can be used. Some of the applications, and there's going to be a common thread to this, and applications, you know, we have some, from Sony's perspective, some places, some ideas, some thoughts of where this projector can be used. The real applications is some place that someone really is worried about picture quality. I'll be frank, if they're just going to show PowerPoint, this is probably a little bit overkill, honestly. We'd be happy to sell you a projector for that, but this projector really shines where you have to be presenting an image, and the image is all key. It is all about what the image looks like. So from a corporate environment, if I'm showing off product, if I'm showing off my latest widget, I want it to look good. I want it to pop. I want it to be sexy, if you will. I want it to look like it is supposed to. I want it to look the color that I think it's supposed to. You know, if it's Coca-Cola red, it better be Coca-Cola red. This projector can do that because of the technology, because of the multiple laser LEDs we use because of the X1 processor. Industrial design, because I can do 60 hertz per eye 3D, because I'm color accurate, I can design and make design decisions based on this image. I don't have to look at the image and think, well, is that really what it looks like? Or no, that's what it looks like. So I can base my design decisions looking at this image. And then the senior executive, the high-end boardroom where things really have to look good, this projector will really look good. Entertainment. When you try to entertain someone, the whole point of entertaining them is to capture their attention, grab their attention, and take them somewhere. And because of the dynamic range, because of the brightness, because of the wide color gamut, this projector can do that. It doesn't look flat. It will give you that pop. It will give you that resolution. It will give you that depth to the image that grabs one's attention. So be it museums or galleries, even planetariums, especially at the dark level, this projector is ideally suited for planetarium applications. And in higher ed, and like I said, this projector can do PowerPoint very well, thank you, but it's probably not your everyday classroom projector. But for applications for art schools, film schools, where the image, you're showing finite, very small details of an image, you need a projector like this to do this. Also, applications where I'm showing a lot of detail, engineering, architectural design, things where I'm visually looking at an image and either teaching something about it or helping students collaborate and create something based on this type of image. That is the applications that we see this projector going into. And then, of course, simulation application. And simulation is people think of it as flight simulators, but it's becoming more prevalent in multiple industries and multiple applications. Simulation, in a lot of ways, is like entertainment. The whole point of simulation is to train someone or teach someone how to do something without them actually doing it and breaking something or hurting themselves. But what needs to happen in simulation is I have to get the trainee's attention and immerse him in this environment such that he's thinking he is driving this car, or he's thinking he's driving this plane. He's not thinking he's looking at a projected image. So image quality, depth, contrast ratio, color accuracy, all are critical in doing that. If I do not engross and completely engage the trainee, the training is nowhere near as effective. So those are the type of applications that we are going for with this projector, and we think we have a very, very good projector to do such things. So some takeaways. If you don't take away the fact that this projector is all about image quality, then I'm not sure what I have done wrong. But also take away the fact that this is a projector that can be mounted in any application or any position, and it solves a lot of problems because it is a very bright projector that doesn't have to be in a screening room or a projection booth. It's a very quiet projector, so if it's a museum, the projector can be discreetly hung in the ceiling and not in the viewer's eye, and the viewer won't hear it. In classrooms or lecture halls, the projector can be in the lecture hall and it's quiet and it will not drown out the professor and won't be an annoyance. So we see this projector again as this device to project a super high resolution, super high quality image that typically you couldn't do before with a projector, especially a projector of this size and a projector that is as quiet as this projector is. So again, I thank you for your time. I'm glad you were able to join us today. And with that, I think, John.
Thank you, Sander. Great job. We do have some questions, as always, and we'll address them one by one. If for whatever reason we don't have enough time, if we run out of time, Just want to let everyone know we do have your contact information. And as in previous webinars, we will respond to any questions that we don't get to live here via email. So let's see. First question up is okay. Stand by. First question up is actually pretty easy, Sander.
I like easy ones.
And I actually responded to all in the chat panel, but just to reiterate, there are a couple of folks came back and asked, will this presentation be available? And yes, it will be. We will post it to our Sony Pro AV Webinars YouTube playlist. Typically, we get them up there by the end of the week, so by Friday or next Monday at the latest. Second one, Sander, is for you. It's also pretty easy. What is the MSRP on the GTZ380?
We have not officially announced price yet. We are targeting a list price, probably in the $80,000 range. But we should have more pricing information going forward, more towards the end of the summer, beginning of the fall.
And I think for clarification, we should mention that that $80,000 to mid $80,000 list price does not include lens. Lens is additional, right?
Correct. Correct.
Question from Paul. Paul asks, what is the transport delay time? I know you mentioned transport delay time. You described transport delay time.
It's as low as 13 milliseconds, depending on signal type. So.
Okay, great. Aaron asks, is there a port for an external sync input to the projector to ensure that all of the projectors in a system are synced together?
No, actually there is not. I mean, most of the people we do multiple projectors to, they sync off the IG cluster, the GPU cluster. This projector has a sync output that can trigger or time a emitter for like 3D applications, which is in a lot of cases probably more of an issue. But
okay, we have a question from Corey. Corey asks, does the FDA classification apply to this projector at all?
Well, there's several FDA classifications, and basically and I don't know the classification numbers off the top of my head, but it does meet the same safety regulations and follows the same classifications as our other laser phosphor projectors. So as opposed to a direct RGB laser where there's some limitations on where the viewer can be and things as such, this doesn't have that.
Okay, question from Paul. Where is the projector made, and is it TAA compliant?
It is TAA compliant. It is made in Japan.
Question from Keith. He asks, what are the main differences besides lumens between this projector and the GTZ380?
The biggest difference is two things. The X1 processor was not in the 270, so this has better off-resolution processing or scaling, if you will. The second is the addition of the red laser diode, which gives us wider color space. The 270 had a wide color space, but you would lose some brightness depending on which color space you set the projector to. This projector, the 380, you do not lose any brightness. So if I'm in P3 color space, or if I'm in D65, or whatever color space I so choose, it's still at full 10,000 lumens.
Okay. Have still a few more questions coming in on pricing. So maybe and availability. So again, maybe just to clarify, the projector's list price will be in and around the mid $80,000 range US
Right.
dollar, with lenses being additional.
Right. And that's
as far as
well.
go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say that is list price. So if you're familiar with Sony, you probably can infer some things from that. I mean, we're not trying to be cagey. It's just we don't have final exact pricing from Japan yet. And I think part of the question was availability. We expect to start delivering units to end users, to customers in mid-January 2021. So we're still about, 1st of August, so 5 months out. We expect to start to get our first, what we call engineering samples, in about a month, followed by what we call pre-production samples. Pre-production samples being very representative first run production units that aren't for sale yet, towards the end of October, beginning of November timeframe. So we hope, given the current situation, it's somewhat state of flux with COVID, but we hope to start to show and take units around to demonstrate to people. Because if there's ever been a product that it's seeing is believing, this is it.
So we have a follow-up question from Dennis on the 13 millisecond minimum transport delay. He'd like to know what resolution is that and what would the maximum be?
I don't know what the maximum would be. That's 4K resolution. I don't know if, say, 1920 by 1280, or I don't know which resolution has the worst case scenario, if I think is the question. I certainly can find out. I just don't know. It's non-native resolutions typically have a higher transfer delay than native. So.
Okay, we have a question from Callie. She asks, do you expect to continue the GTZ380 and GTZ380 now that you've announced the GTZ380?
That's a good question. And our current plan is yes, we expect to have a complete lineup. I mean, we always will look at market conditions and market trends and make decisions based on that. But no, we kind of like having a more full lineup, if you will.
Question from Philip asking, has the Sony projection lens calculator software been updated yet to reflect the GTZ 380?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I could double check that, but I'm pretty sure no. With that being said, the new lenses are not exactly the same optically, throw ratio wise, but the short throw or standard throw lens for a GTZ 270 or 280 is very close to what the new lenses are on the GTZ 380. So in other words, if you're trying to figure out if something would work, you probably could use the lenses on the 270 and see if the throw distance works out. And one person, someone may ask, why did you change lenses? The throw ratios are nearly identical. They're just slightly different. I mean slightly. But we changed because of the newer projector has more light energy. The newer lenses are more stable at that more intense energy. So that's the reason we changed lenses.
Okay. Question from Rhonda. Is the projector capable of 24/7 operation?
Yes. With liquid cooling, absolutely 24/7 is no issue.
Okay. Follow-up question from Philip related to lenses. Are there any plans for future lens complements?
The short answer is yes. We are studying additional lenses. At this time, I don't have a time frame. We probably will have a better idea towards the end of this calendar year of what other optional lenses will eventually become available.
Question from Thomas. How long is the expected lifetime of the laser light source?
At full brightness at 10,000 lumens, it's rated at 20,000 hours.
Okay. I think we've got a couple of duplicate questions here, just going through. I thought I saw another one. Nope, I think that's about it. I think there was one question from Corey about contrast that I'm trying to find here. Yeah, how is the contrast actually measured? What is the 16,000 to 1 based on?
Very carefully. It's a full on and off method. It's not an ANSI checkerboard, but a full on and off. So it's a black field versus a white field. And then we measure the luminance output at black and the luminance output at white over several points over the raster or over the image and average the value.
Okay, and one other question regarding sound. Do we have a dB rating for the noise output?
It's rated to be 39 dB or less. I don't know. We don't have the exact yet because we don't have the final production units, but the target spec and Japan is pretty confident about it that it will be less, 39 dBs or less. To give you an idea, the GTZ380 is 35. So it's only a couple dBs louder. It's still pretty quiet.
Okay, so we're getting close to time. There are a couple of reminders. Sandra, if you can advance the next slide. I'll leave everyone with some QR codes here. So if you didn't capture the links that I put into the chat box for the additional resources, and I'll also put a link to the calculator as well. I'm doing that now. Okay, but if you look here, the QR codes, you can link to the brochure, the GTZ380 brochure. You can sign up to download some of our SXRD white papers, and you can also see the full line of SXRD products, as Sandra mentioned before, the entire SXRD family there. Before I let you go, just like to remind you, next week, our Tech Tuesday webinar will be faith-based, and it'll be about new ways to worship in person and online using Sony technologies. And then I want to call your attention as well, if you've whet your appetite for the SXRD and want to do a deeper dive on SXRD technology, August 11th, Tuesday, August 11th at 1 p.m., we'll be doing 4K Pro SXRD behind the numbers, attributes that enhance projection image quality. So with that, I wish to thank everyone for joining us. As always, I know your time is valuable. I wish everyone a great week. Stay safe, stay cool, and look forward to speaking with you next week. Thanks, everyone.